We have some breaking inputs coming in after Canada withdraws diplomats. Remember, Canada has withdrawn 41 diplomats, and after that move, it calls India unreasonable. MEA talks tough to Canada. MEA also flags interference in internal affairs. And Canada, while withdrawing the diplomats, has called India unreasonable. As far as the MEA is concerned, the stand is very clear. Interference warrants parity. Actions fully consistent with Vienna Convention. Siddharth is also joining us from the newspit with this statement from MEA. Over to you.
Yes, Swati. So here's what the MEA statement now reads. It's titled Parity in Canadian Diplomatic Presence in India. We've seen the statement by the Government of Canada on the 19th of October regarding the Canadian diplomatic presence in India, the state of our bilateral relations, the much higher number of Canadian diplomats in India, and their continued interference in our internal affairs warrant a parity in mutual diplomatic presence in New Delhi and Ottawa. We have been engaged with the Canadian side on this over the last month in order to work out the details and modalities of its implementation. Our actions in implementing this parity are fully consistent with Article 11.1 of the Vienna Convention. This is what Rishabh was referring to on diplomatic relations, which states the following, and I quote, "In the absence of specific agreement as to the size of the mission, the receiving state may require that the size of a mission be kept within limits considered by it to be reasonable and normal, having regard to the circumstances and conditions in the receiving state and to the needs of the particular mission." We reject any attempt to portray the implementation of parity as a violation of international norms. Once again, what's important here, Swati, is that in this press release, the MEA has once again alluded to the interference on the part of the Canadian authorities here in India. That's one of the reasons why they've been asked to scale down their presence in this country.
We have Sushant Sareen joining us on the broadcast now. Sushant Sareen, how are you looking at this new development? MEA has responded to Canada's charges and has, in fact, rejected the portrayal that this is a violation of the international norms.
No, clearly that is utter nonsense what the Canadians are saying. They're probably trying to save some face. Look, the point is that when this fracas first happened in September, around that time itself, India had, the External Affairs spokesperson had come and said that we want there to be some kind of parity between the missions of India in Canada and Canada in India. So there is not something we've done suddenly overnight that we've been expelling people. The Canadians insisted that they wanted to talk this through. They wanted to talk silently. They wanted to accuse us publicly. They wanted to accuse us without any evidence publicly and try and shame us. But then they wanted, their own privileges to be kept intact privately. We had a conversation with them, and quite clearly the government of India stuck to its guns and said that we want parity. And the reason for that was because, according to the External Affairs spokesperson, the Canadian diplomats were indulging in activity which was interference in India's internal affairs. And basically they were doing stuff which is not compatible with their diplomatic status. So we decided that we are going to pare down their presence to the same level at which we have in Canada. There might have been some disagreements on what the diplomatic numbers exactly are. I think that's been clarified. And they've withdrawn their diplomats. This is where matters should rest. Of course, it will have certain repercussions, pretty serious ones on the bilateral relationship. But quite clearly, the government of India has, let the Canadians know that we are no pushovers.
Through the statement, they're also, in fact, clarifying that this has not happened overnight. In fact, the government was engaged with the Canadian side for the last 1 month to work out the modalities. Sushant Sareen, thank you very much for joining us on the broadcast with your views.